I'm Carla Lalli Music, cookbook author, video host, and unapologetic snack enthusiast. You're listening to Sweets Unwrapped, a podcast produced by Atlantic Rethink, the Atlantic's creative marketing studio, in partnership with Ferrero. Once a week, we're unwrapping the craft, history, and innovation behind the treats we don't even try to resist. In this episode, we're stepping inside Ferrero's Innovation Center to see how beloved treats evolve. Along the way, we'll hear from a flavor scientist about the impact of chemistry and biology on our cravings, and learn how pastry chefs at Ferrero's R&D lab in Chicago tested dozens of caramels on their way to perfecting a brand new Butterfinger flavor. Go grab something sweet because this is going to be delicious. Close your eyes and imagine biting into your favorite sweet treat. Can you hear the crinkle of the wrapper in your mind? Does it crunch or snap? Does it melt into your mouth? Notice the aroma. What does it remind you of? That kind of experience doesn't happen by accident. Every detail, texture, aroma, flavor, and packaging has been meticulously planned, tested, and refined to create something that feels both familiar and surprising. In this episode, we're stepping into Ferrero's Innovation Center and R&D lab, tucked inside Chicago's historic Marshall Field and Company building. Here, classic confections are reimagined and new ideas take shape. We'll learn how food scientists and product designers think through every element of a bite to keep beloved brands feeling fresh, and how Ferrero co-founder Pietro Ferrero earned the nickname The Scientist. We might even get to taste some new products along the way.
The fun thing about flavor is that it's psychological and experiential and aesthetic, but on the other hand, it's extremely grounded in very real molecules.
Sense memory is a very real phenomenon in sight, and particularly in smell, and then also with taste.
First of all, you need to love what you are doing. If you don't like cookies, if you don't like candies, this passion, you will not have it.
There's a reason some sweets become instant favorites while others fall flat. It's not luck, it's sensory design. The way something snaps, melts, smells, or lingers on your tongue is all thoughtfully designed to deliver pleasure, bite after bite. To understand how that system works and why even the tiniest tweaks can change everything, we turn to someone who studies flavor down to its building blocks. Ariel Johnson is a flavor scientist and co-founder of the fermentation lab at Noma. She breaks down taste at the molecular level. She's part flavor whisperer, part sensory sleuth, someone who knows how our brains perceive sweetness, aroma, and texture, and how these elements come together to create something we actually want to eat, or better yet, something we crave.
The fun thing about flavor is that it's psychological and experiential and aesthetic, but on the other hand, it's extremely grounded in very real molecules. So flavor is mostly taste and smell, and taste and smell are our chemical senses. So that means that they are activated by molecules, by chemistry. Really, to understand anything that's going on in the flavor world, it really helps to have a knowledge of what chemically is going on.
Understanding the chemistry of flavor opens the door to innovation, but science only tells part of the story. Flavor isn't just chemical molecules, it's sensation, it's emotion, it's memory, and it's experience.
When we talk about flavor being greater than the sum of its parts, it's because there's this continuous ongoing feedback between our different senses as we're tasting things.
Let's take chocolate, for example. A sweet treat beloved by almost everyone, but when you break it down, what's actually happening when we eat it?
The reason that we enjoy eating a bar of chocolate more than a tablespoon of white sugar has to do with how we integrate the rest of our senses. When you're eating a piece of chocolate, obviously before you even put it in your mouth, you look at it, you can smell it. Because our deep ancestors used our sort of ability to conjure up flavor as a way to essentially figure out what to eat that would be good for them and not kill them, the appearance and the smell really prime us for what's about to happen when we put it in our mouths. Then once we do put the piece of chocolate in our mouths, we taste sweetness, sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. Those are all very heavily based in basic evolutionary drives. So the reason we can sense sweetness is because sugar is basically our easiest to obtain energy source.
The sensory experience doesn't end with taste. Chocolate also engages us through texture.
But beyond sweetness, you'll be experiencing also touch, because there's a textural change from when the chocolate enters your mouth as kind of like a whole solid and then melts gradually. There's not many things that we eat where we're experiencing a phase transition from solid to liquid, sure, but chocolate has a very specific crystal structure.
And all of that, the crystal structure, the temperature, the texture, adds up to a holistic experience.
In many ways, humans are a bundle of contradictions, and flavor is no different. We like familiarity. We also like novelty. What that means is that when you put this drive for familiarity and this drive for novelty together, is that there is essentially a sweet spot where something is just familiar enough to feel safe and normal, but just novel enough to pique our interest and make us want to try more. That is kind of the sweet spot to try to hit if you're trying to innovate and make new foods that people will actually want to eat.
That delicate balancing act between the familiar and the unexpected is what makes food innovation as much an art as it is a science.
There isn't necessarily an exact formula for how different you can make something before it's too novel, but if something's been around for, 100 years and everyone's eaten it, its appearance is familiar, its texture is familiar, its smell is familiar, its taste and its flavor are familiar. So that means you have like 5 different things you can mess with and make changes, try to go for novelty to find kind of the right fit. I think that's really where the art of innovation as opposed to just the science comes in.
Johnson's point rings especially true when it comes to innovation on products and brands with a long history. Products like Butterfinger, Kinder Chocolate, Tic Tac, and Ferrero Rocher have made their mark and left consumers with distinct expectations. So, how do you nail the perfect balance between novelty and familiarity? At Ferrero's Innovation Center and R&D Lab in Chicago, which was opened just a few years ago and is now releasing its first products, that question motivates a new generation of food scientists and flavor pioneers. Before you smell the chocolate, you hear the scoop, that soft shuffle of disposable shoe covers gliding across a polished floor. It's the unofficial soundtrack of Ferrero's R&D Lab, and it means you're about to enter a sacred space where new recipes are dreamt up, pressure tested, and made into reality.
Yes, that scoot that we're hearing is our booty covers. Each team member has captive shoes that they'll keep here. But for those of us that have shoes that have touched the outside, we just cover those up, and then you hear them scraping in the hall.
There are about 50 workers on this floor.
I am Effie Nestrud. I'm the North American laboratory head, and I get the pleasure of overseeing the team that does the development of the formulations for our diverse North American brands, including, but not limited to, Keebler, Famous Amos, Mother's, Murray's, our sugar wafer portfolio, as well as Fannie Mae Premium Chocolates and Ferrero Mainstream Chocolate, which includes Crunch, Butterfinger, 100 Grand, Raisinets, Goobers, Snow Caps.
Effie's team is working in lab coats at spotless marble countertops. This is an industrial test kitchen where pastry chefs, chocolatiers, and food scientists obsess over every crumb as they conceptualize what these brands will look, taste, and smell like in the future. It's a Willy Wonka wonderland of flavor research, product innovation, and perpetual experimentation, powered by a team of dreamers in hairnets.
It's a very hands-on exploratory process for them. Most of them have been to culinary school, have worked in various kitchens throughout their careers, and so they really bring that skill set of master bakers, master chocolatiers, and the majority of their time is spent on these marble top benches, creating new ideas, testing small changes in recipes. What does 5% more sugar, 5% less sugar get us? Do we like that texture better or worse?
The lab itself is located inside Chicago's historic Marshall Field building, where Ferrero has an office alongside its innovation center. As you may remember from our first episode, Chicago has a long history of confectionery excellence and is where many Ferrero brands got their start. While the building is historic, the space feels very high-tech, and Effie's team is forward-thinking, meticulous, and laser-focused on every last detail. The lab is split down the middle. On one side, cookies and biscuits. On the other, chocolate and confections. Today, we start with dough for samples of an unreleased cookie, Chips Deluxe Fudge Filled.
A day in the Innovation Center can look quite varied. It can be a very individual process where you're really starting on the bench with an initial new idea and exploring. It can be in more of an interim phase where you're gathering the team's feedback. And they're very honest with each other to make those products as good as they can possibly be. So they'll dig into the texture, the flavor, the color, all of the elements that you might not even think of. So that would be what kind of a bench day looks like, which is testing different formulations, trying it with your peers, evaluating it, making modifications. It can also look much like today, where we're making some samples for external testing. So right now we're on our cookie side. We have 2 of our team members that are focused on making some cookies tomorrow. So today is kind of what we would call a weigh-up day, where they're taking all of their dry and wet ingredients, portioning them in exact quantities. So you'll hear bags rustling, scales beeping, water pouring, things of that nature, and that are all serving for that preparation, where tomorrow they'll come in and it would be a heavy mixer day, because they're going to be mixing, forming here on this table, and then baking.
They're experimenting with ratios of flour, sugar, and fats, analyzing the snap of a coating, and debating moisture levels in cookies. All of these factors influence the consumer's experience. And in particular, this team is responsible for understanding what American snackers crave. It's part of why Ferrero built this lab, the first R&D center for the brand outside of Italy, so they could more readily innovate for a North American audience.
It's been quite fun because the embracing of the American brands has been quite comprehensive. Our marketing and brand partners are very aware that these American brands have different pathways and structures to maybe some classic European products. As a specific example, we know that Americans typically, and again, everything is typical, not guaranteed, but like a slightly softer bite to a cookie. Whereas what we're hearing from our Italian counterparts and some of our European coworkers are that they like a drier cookie. Again, it seems like something very simple, but even a 1 degree moisture difference in a cookie can take it from being more suited for a European palate or a traditional European palate to a traditional American palate. So it's really something that we have a lot of discussions about, because we always, again, here for the North American market, we want to try to make sure that we're making products for North Americans while we take in some of that amazing feedback from some of our European partners.
Nearby, Effie's team weighs ingredients.
So I'm Loy Riccardo Federico. I started working in Ferrero 9 years ago. So we were weighing basically all the ingredients for the dough of the biscuits. So now we are going to mix all the ingredients, and after that, the second part of the preparation, it will be to fill the biscuit and bake the product in the oven.
Because they're focused on iconic brands like Keebler and Butterfinger, this team thinks a lot about how to honor what's working, even as they're inventing something new. That requires considering the emotional ties that people have to their favorite cookie or childhood chocolate bar, and dreaming up ideas that add to that experience without straying too far from the beloved original. Here's Effie Nestrud.
Sense memory is a very real phenomenon in sight, particularly in smell, and then also with taste. And so I would say a lot of these products, since they're from legacy American nostalgic brands, there are a lot of American consumers who have in their mind what a Chips Deluxe tastes like, because maybe they've eaten one thousands of times as a child, but maybe they haven't even had one in 20 years. But they can most likely, because those memories are so deep and so prominent, they almost become more like core memories for us. You can pick up that cookie and you can still look for those flavors without even understanding that you've had a preconceived notion of what it should be, and say, oh, they changed it, or oh, it's exactly like what I had. We have to take great care in understanding how much we're changing a product and if it should or shouldn't be changed given the scope of the development. So we are heading to the other side of the DTC laboratory that focuses primarily on chocolate and confections. So this is the chocolate side of the lab. You'll see slightly different equipment. On this side, some large panners that you would see almost identical into our factories. Different caramel cookers, caramel rolling, lots of space for chocolate tempering.
There's sleek machinery and stainless steel, and then there's marble, not for looks, but for tempering chocolate the traditional way, by hand.
One of the main reasons we have marble top tables is so they can temper chocolate by hand if they need to. The marble top really helps with that. We also do have tempering machines, but the team, sometimes if you're doing a small batch, they're so adept at hand tempering that it's just quicker for them.
The whole space hums with a quiet focus, soft lighting, polished surfaces, and a fragrant mix of cocoa, caramel, and roasted peanuts in the air. It's part kitchen, part lab, and all about the sensory experience. That's where we meet the rest of Effie's team, the ones transforming nostalgic treats into the next big thing, like Martha Lemus, a pastry chef and lab operator.
Right now, I'm working on Butterfinger secret innovations. Basically, we just grab the core of the bar and we make the magic happen. For example, we get the core, which is just a naked candy without the coating. We basically bring it here to the lab and we dip it in the coating or chocolate. We flash it in the refrigerator for those fats to shine. And then after that, we cut the feet of the bar, because usually when you dip something by hand and you place it on the parchment paper or the sheet tray, you get like this pool of coating. So we have to trim that in order for us to have a good looking bar.
Martha's part of the team behind a brand new Butterfinger flavor, the Butterfinger Salted Caramel. It's the first new Butterfinger offering in over a decade and is just the beginning. More flavors like marshmallow and French toast are on their way. And even an idea as seemingly simple as Butterfinger and caramel requires extensive rounds of decision-making. The fun of innovation is the experimentation and refinement before anything can be brought to market.
Initially, when we tried to do a salted caramel, we thought of the bar being like the salted part of it, and the caramel, it was not a challenging, but a challenge to find out what the customer would want, because there's a lot of caramels. You have the caramel that is like a toffee, it's a little bit more on the buttery side. We have a caramel that is dulce de leche, which is more of a cinnamon milky type of caramel. So we tried a good 10, 12 caramel, and we went to a flavor house to perfect the flavor so we can elongate the flavor for shelf life, and the pairs fantastic with the Butterfinger bar.
As she developed that innovation, she had to be very careful not to lose that essential Butterfinger quality. Yes, it's technical, but it's joyful too. The kind of joy that comes from making something just right, that true fans of the brand will love.
So basically, how the Butterfinger is recognized for years is that you get that beautiful, buttery, flaky product, a caramel or toffee, if you're going to call it. And then basically you want to mimic that snap in your mouth. I want that customer, that loyalty to still keep in, because the bar is amazing, and we want new generations, the new innovation that we're making, to come to the brand and also learn from it, because they might think, oh, what is this?
Reinventing a classic isn't just about finding the right flavor, it's about care, intention, and an understanding of what made it a classic in the first place. It looks like a Butterfinger, it smells like a Butterfinger, and when it hits your tongue, it's everything you remember with a little something new woven in. Ferrero's Innovation Center might look like a lab, but you can trace its roots back to a humble pastry shop in Alba, Italy. Pietro Ferrero, who co-founded the company with his brother Giovanni, was affectionately known as the scientist. Not for a white coat or a PhD, but for his obsession with surprising and delighting customers with new textures, flavors, and techniques. That obsession lives on at the heart of Ferrero, and you can still feel it in the quiet rigor of a test kitchen or the satisfying snap of a perfected prototype. This is João Paulo Andorinha, Senior Vice President of Research and Development at Ferrero North America, where he oversees R&D for the company's regional brand acquisitions like Butterfinger, Baby Ruth, and Keebler. He leads the Chicago team we just met, and he's been tasked with a huge responsibility.
It's the first time in the history of Ferrero we are creating an R&D center outside of Alba. So imagine what it means to create something for the first time here in Chicago.
That's a big deal. For decades, Ferrero did its research and development exclusively in Alba, Italy. But now, Chicago is playing a role in shaping the future of the company. It's a move that brings research closer to one of Ferrero's most important markets, North America.
I will not say only for North America, but more and more we are global, but also we are local. Because you need to have a specific team locally to understand the specific needs.
Ferrero opened up the Chicago Innovation Center and R&D lab in 2023 so they could more quickly innovate for a North American palate, with local workers who understand local tastes, people who understand that something like fudge, key to the iconic Keebler cookie, isn't a novelty, it's part of American culture.
You don't have fudge in the rest of the world. I discovered fudge in North America. We have, for example, in Keebler, the signature of the product is fudge. I was visiting also in Chicago. We have a shop, only fudge you have inside. That is why these are very specific things. If you are not living here, you don't know. If you are not living here, you don't understand.
There's a team that mixes and tweaks new formulations, a team that turns recipes into reality, a group that taste tests every bite, and a team that sources the best ingredients from nearby farms to faraway regions around the world. They all work together. Before he passed away in 2015, Michele Ferrero carried his father Pietro's legacy forward with the same obsessive spirit that earned Pietro the scientist nickname. In fact, Michele would even send a team halfway around the world to track down a single flavor reference, an ingredient or spice he couldn't find anywhere else.
Sometimes Michele was asking to his team, one thing, I heard in India or in China they have something, some new reference. Can you go there, please? And the people that have a flight, they go to India or to China to only buy one type of ingredients. And why? Because you want to understand, to taste it, to see it, to smell it. In some companies, the heart, it's marketing. In some companies, the heart of the company is financial. In other one, it's sales. I will say it in Ferrero, the heart is R&D. I will not say R&D in terms of the department by himself. But the first things you put in the table, when we speak about Ferrero, you put the product. You don't put the PowerPoint. And this is, I think, is a very good example in definition what is mean research and development, not in terms of department, but in terms of ambition.
This level of passion is what pushes the industry forward. And while it's a rigorous process, constantly searching for the next great thing and tinkering until you reach a breakthrough, for a food lover like Joao, it's also a dream job. There's joy in the work and curiosity in the research.
First of all, you need to love what you are doing. If you don't like cookies, if you don't like candies, this passion, you will not have it. If you don't have passion, all the time it's something I ask to my people, you need to come in the morning all the time smiling. Working in innovation, it's something I think a lot of people, they will pay to work on it because you are every day creating new things in terms of colors, in terms of textures, in terms of smell. And sometimes I'm surprised. Wow, today the chocolate was amazing. Why? You need to understand why. The texture was amazing. When you open, for example, you will see the Butterfinger salted caramel. When you open, wow, this is fantastic. So it's not very difficult, to be honest, to create this passion, this connection, because automatically when you manage good things, you have good reactions.
So what did we discover inside Ferrero's Innovation Center? Every snack is a precise balance of chemistry, familiarity, and relentless curiosity. Pastry chefs tempering chocolate by hand, scientists fine-tuning cookie recipes, the careful process of coating Butterfinger bars, then trimming away imperfections. This episode was a reminder that the sweets we love aren't just made, they're crafted, with science, precision, and a lot of heart. I'm Carla Lalli Music, and you've been listening to Sweets Unwrapped. Join us next week as we peer into the crystal ball of cookies and confectionery We'll explore what's next in sweets, from innovative flavor profiles and cutting-edge techniques to how legacy brands stay relevant in a changing food landscape. If you enjoyed what you've just heard, like and review on Apple Podcasts and help spread the word about our series to other listeners like you.